Right, afternoon all. This is a little bit of a follow-up on the unboxing and tank and whatever. Evidently you do get a parts list, which is this one here, which is in the book. Very valuable, I've found. As much as you have a construction method from A to B to C to D, without this you'll be struggling to find parts, to be honest. So that is very crucial, I've found, because what I'm going to do is turn my face off this and put it to this. When you're looking for parts, which I just was a few moments ago, you'll find that, I'm going to turn you around now, I hope you can see that. On here, if that shows up okay without me doing, you'll see it will limitate hub bag, gearbox plates, etc., and then screw bags. So here you're looking for various screws. Let's say you're starting on this, which I am, is a centre differential. Then you'll be looking for these screws, whatever they are, which is here, MD2. Well, MD2 by 6. Well, of course they'll be in one of these bags. Excuse the lighting if it changes. And so you will basically get the leopard parts list, and you'll find this is a spring bag, spacer bag, screw bag A, and you're looking for MD2s, which is screw bag D, and MD2s, and there's 24 approximately of those in there. So it's screw bag D we want. So ABC, which is D, which is that one. So out of that screw bag, and don't forget, of course, these screws are actual size. I would assume they'll be the black ones, and if you put the black one on top of there, that will be the length of it. Then you're looking for two ME5s, of course. So for evidently, and some grease, which is also in here, as you can see, some clips for the what's the name. So I haven't undone those there. Plus there's a couple of little screws, drivers, and a little do-bar. I've got one of them actually, doobies. Sorry, I'm just watching what I'm doing there. There's the tank, of course. So it is very important that you actually look at the parts list, and literally, like me, it's just avail yourself to actually just stopping, thinking and checking, because I've just spent 20 minutes looking for the parts which are in this parts bag here, because I was looking for these parts here, MG7, and I'm thinking MG7. Well, of course MG7 is listed in the parts manual, when I can find it now. You see what I mean? You've really got to look. And oh dear. Yeah, well there it is. It's called a gear bag, and it's gear bag. Well, of course, I don't know if you noticed, there's no label on that, nothing. And I'm not saying we're all stupid, which we're not, but I was looking for something green, and of course not this bag, and that's where they are. That's where them things are there. Okay. So it is important that you keep an eye on these. It's a shame there's no gear bag on there, but once I've realised, gear bag, this is in the bottom of the hull. So there you go. Hopefully that clarifies a bit, because I spent nearly 4 minutes talking about it. But avail yourself to, you know, stopping to think and making sure you get the right things. Cheers. Right. I've come back to this now because when you're looking at the screws in the bag, this is the one bag which was bag D, which has the screws in. And what I've done may seem a bit time consuming, because initially these screws, these two screws here and there, are pretty much similar and quite easy to confuse them. Well, I've worked out on the counting factor that it's them are the screws I'm after, the slight silvery ones, right? Because there's MD2s, and if you look in the box it says there's 24. There's actually 2 extra, but there's actually 2 extra of them, so this is the erring on them. Then you get the 2 washers out of another bag, which I've cut gently, which is bag E. I'm going through this very basically, and so there's the gear wheels, there's the washers, as you can see me lay it out. There's the pin, and I've got a pair of tweezers, by the way. And then, as far as I'm aware of, there's 2 of those and 2 washers. So what I'll do, and if you think them are small, look at the size of them in there for the little tiny screws. Flaming hell's bells. So it pays to take your time. I'm not telling everyone to suck eggs, because handy. I would quite easily have put those ones in without looking and thinking those are the ones, or I could even put those in. But if you look at those, they are about the closest match. There you go. So that is one, and there's the washer. Perfect fit. Remember, no rush. Mistakes cost, so try not to make any mistakes. Anyway, moving on. Alright, well, there you go. That's that done. Let's see. Central differential. Evidently a better screwdriver. And now I'm going to put down this next section, which is differential gears. So I've collected them all up, 1, 2, and the tops. Rechecking the parts list, that is very important, I think anyway. The washers are ready, and then of course there's these screws here, which are different to the ones I've got here, but they're in the same bag, but there's 6 on their own, countersunk. Recheck it there, because I nearly picked these up, the black ones. That's how easy, and I'm thinking, no, that's not right. Countersunk, which you can see. I've still got these here, but I'm quite careful, and there you go. So all the washers, all the grease. So I'm going to put these together now. So I'll have the 1 part diff done, and I'll have these 2 other parts of the diff done. Anyway, cheers. Right, I'm putting the gear linkages together again, and one thing I found, I want to explain this because I've just had a really good think about it. You've got a little bag of spacers and washers here, and then it's trying to find out which one is which. I have a micrometer, but I've just noticed why that seems to be shaded, that doesn't seem to be shaded, and that doesn't seem to be shaded. And then checking down here, there's some other shaded ones and there's some other brass ones. So what I've worked out is, by the parts list, that is the biggest spacer, which is Mark 1. That's the next biggest spacer, Mark 2, and there's a couple of Mark 5s, and that's one of them. I've got the pin, sorry, oh dear me, that's the biggest, that's the next biggest, that's that one. I've got the pin, and I've got the bearings sorted out, which is there. So I'm just starting putting this together. It is a bit confusing for me initially, because I haven't done one of these for many years. It all seems fairly straightforward, but I'll put a few bits together and I'll come back and take a photo. Cheers. Right, I have gone through assembling number 3 and number 4, which is the gears, etc. And I did have to recheck, because when you put some of these washers on, there's a large gap, and I'm thinking that's never right, but actually it is. There's no movement because you have the other gears coming in behind. So when I've assembled, this is only dry assembled at the moment, it all seems to work, as you can see. So I've just got this piece of black out, which is the gearbox casing, and sat that in there, which seemed right. And then when I've assembled this, which is a fiddle, and you really have to watch these codes here, really, well I did anyway. I'm talking to people like, you know, hopefully just common sense, but you really have to watch these coloured washers, spacers, etc. It's easy to just, oh yeah, and where it shows here there is two bearing spacers, which is these two bearing spacers here where my big fat finger is, and there's a little gap between the two of them which is in the plastic, so in the casing. So I thought to myself, strange. And then there's these little tiny washers, spacer washers, two and one there, and then there's the slightly annealed type one, slightly darker. So fairly easy, just put a bit of grease on there, just bits and pieces, and sit it in there. It only goes in one way, this one. If you got it wrong way around, it won't go in, so it'll just gently plop in, space it out. There you have it. That's it for today. I'm gently going to pack this away now because I've got bags open, and we'll resume again tomorrow. Cheers. Or the next day, or whenever. Cheers. Anyway, had me tea, come back for another little crack. What I did think of mentioning as well is that where I got the model from. This is just simply model, and this is the leopard A2. Oh, sorry, leopard 2A6. The Tamiya kit. Quite like the Tamiya kits. Like I said before, as for add-ons and upgrades and everything else, to me I'll just build the kit and see how we get on from there. I might get some of the bearings for the wheels, which are quite reasonable priced on eBay, but if I do that I'll let you know. Anyway, the other thing I want to do is where I got the thing from, and this is the website, Wonderland Model. It's up in Scotland. It is a massive store. It's an excellent service, by the way, I'd like to say. I think I ordered on the Tuesday and I got it on a Wednesday, everything. So there you go. So if I scroll down here, as you can see, loads of stuff. Okay, loads. Well worth a look, but that's Wonderland, and I'll quite highly recommend them. I've managed to get the little helping hands kit. That was about £8. The craft knife, that was a tenner. It'll do for what I want. And a little set of files, which is again £7. Just the odd little bits and pieces, and I got the little snips there. I don't know if it's them where they weren't that expensive. It all come from Wonderland. They seem more than happy with them. There is other places, but all I can say is that the prices seem as good as anybody else's, and a good service. Anyway, I'm now going back onto redoing this gearbox, and trying to get this perhaps nearly completed. So I'm just going to strip it out again and grease it, and then put it all back. Cheers. When you're putting this together, the little pointy bit there goes down and points down like that. I can't do it with one hand and it will find its place, and then you just a gentle push with your thumb and that's in. Okay, and then just check the top before you do anything. Fine, there you go. Difficult with one hand, and you know, but there you go. So that sits like that. So cheers. That's the gearbox done. Make sure when you put the two cogs in that one is smaller than the other one, so you don't get them mixed up. So follow the instructions. I'm just doing the motors, and the motors are separate again. There's two cogs, you know, this one and that one, plus the plates, plus the paper plate, the paper gasket, and then the screws, which is another bag opened to get the screws out. So just remember, one motor's for one side, one motor's for the other side, as you can see. Always check the this here parts list, because it does give you a bit more explanation of what you're fitting. In other words, it's a better scale drawing, so you can see that. MC5 is for one side, MC6 is for the other side. Don't forget the grub screws, which are minute. So once I've done this gearbox section and put the motors in, that's it. So that's about 3 hours work. Cheers folks. These are a bit of a fiddle to get in when you put them together, but as you say, please be aware that, like me, just check that one is one side, one is the other. One is for the I think drifting or something, one's for the main motor, but as you say, the two cogs are different, so be careful. Check your screws as well, like I have. Check the gap there, 14mm, which I have, which is the face plate of the motor to the end of there, 14mm, and that's about it. So that is that part there. Those are just resting there, basically. Tighten the grub screw up, don't go berserk, and just as you say, nice and steady. That's the gearbox done with the motors. There you go. That's it for today. Cheers, thanks all.